Hi, my dear children. I'm Dr. Vani, and on behalf of Vedantu, I welcome you all to another super cool, super amazing, absolutely important, and full of a lot of important information webinar right here, right now on Vedantu. Yes, so before I proceed in detail on today's, you can see the topic of today's lecture is definitely alimentary canal. It's a part of the digestive system. It's that particular topic, but the most important thing about today's common medical colleges across the country. In fact, my dear children, you will be surprised to know that some of my students, the very first batch that I taught, those students are doing their post-graduation from All India Institute of Medical Sciences now. Yes, so after finishing their graduation, they're even doing their post-graduation now. So that's a little bit about myself. I'm extremely passionate about teaching. If there's one thing which absolutely defines me, if there's one thing which makes me get up every single day and which I start doing from early in the morning to late in the night, it has to be teaching. A little bit about Vedantu. Vedantu is, I think, one of the most beautiful concepts to ever exist. Vedantu's aim, Vedantu's philosophy is very, very simple. We are out there to make sure that every child in the country, in fact, every child in the world, yes, you heard that right, my dear children, gets a level playing field. What do I understand by a level playing field is that you should never feel disadvantaged. आपको कभी ऐसा नहीं लगना चाहिए कि क्योंकि आप किसी बड़े शहर में नहीं है या क्योंकि आप बहुत ज्यादा पैसा नहीं खर्च पा रहे हैं पढ़ाई में, you do not have quality education. So our concept is, our idea is, our motivation is, our philosophy is that knowledge should not be bound. Knowledge should be free and knowledge should be accessible. Anybody sitting in any part of the world should have access to free quality education. Yes, so that's the concept behind one of the most beautiful things in education right now, and that is Vedantu. So with that, let me welcome you all to an amazing webinar that we're going to have today. Yes, sit back, relax, enjoy the session. Sit with a copy, paper and pen and write down a lot of extra information which I'm going to bombard you today with a lot of extra theory information. Just write it down. I will tell you the years in which they've come, because these things I have gathered from a lot of books, from a lot of sources. So all these things you might not find when you read a single book, but you don't have to read so many books because you have Vedantu. Chaliye. So let's start today's super cool class. Yes, with slide number 1. Okay, chalo, let's start. So you see, this is a very basic structure of the digestive system. We already know it. This is a bolus of food, a ball of food. It'll enter the mouth. From there, it'll go to the esophagus. From there, it's going to go to the stomach. From there, it's going to go to the duodenum, which is the first part of the intestine, where the juices of the liver, gallbladder, and pancreas will enter into it. From the duodenum to the jejunum to the ileum to the large intestine, and then out. Is that clear? But we will see all of these glands which are coming in the way in detail. So all these glands which are coming on the way, all the places where the food is going to stay for some time, what happens to the food, what is the epithelium there, how the food is digested there, all of this we are going to do it in detail. Done? Chaliye. So let's start another cool session. Come on. Okay, so first of all, let's do the pharynx. That's going to be this much part, right? Let's do the pharynx. Now, you should know, my dear children, that if suppose this is the pharynx has got 3 parts. How many parts does the pharynx have? 3 parts. A part of the pharynx which lies behind the nose. Let me use a red pen. It'll be so much more better to see, right? So the part of the pharynx which lies immediately behind the nose is known as nasopharynx, right? Okay. The part of the pharynx which is behind the mouth is called as the oropharynx, right? And the part of the pharynx which lies behind the larynx or the voice box. The larynx is known as the Adam's apple. The larynx is also known as the voice box. So the part of the pharynx which lies behind the larynx is called as the laryngopharynx. Which pharynx? The laryngopharynx. So if they ask you ever how many parts of the pharynx are there are 3 parts of the pharynx. Pharynx basically deals with deglutition, swallowing of food. Larynx basically deals with air, vocation, sound production, phonation, right? What are the 3 three parts of the pharynx. The one which is behind the nose is known as the nasopharynx, which communicates with the one which is behind the mouth, or the oropharynx, which goes down into the laryngopharynx. Right? What is a buccopharyngeal cavity? This entire thing is known as the buccopharyngeal cavity, right? The posterior most part of the buccopharyngeal cavity, right at the back of this cavity, we have the pharynx, right? So it is between the soft palate. Now you see the top of the mouth is the palate. You know that? Yes, exactly. The top of the mouth is the palate. The front palate is hard palate. The posterior palate is soft palate. So soft palate ke beech mein, and you know the neck has vertebrae. The vertebrae of the neck are known as cervical vertebrae. What vertebrae? Cervical. तो उसमें से जो sixth vertebra होता है, right at the back you will have the sixth vertebra. So sixth cervical vertebra and soft palate के बीच में कौन होता है? Pharynx. If they want to make the paper tough, see, easy things you will find everywhere, right? If they want to make the paper tough, if they want to make the paper challenging, especially if you're doing assertion reason kind of questions, they might ask you this, right? My aim of the class is, now I suppose you've already kind of done class 11th, you must have read it, you must have been to some coaching, you've done it on your own, or you've sat on a school and you've done it on your own. My idea of today's class is to present this system and its details in a different way, right? Especially focusing on competitive examinations, right? So we have the six cervical vertebrae जहाँ पे pharynx होता है. Gullet is the opening of the pharynx, right? So यहाँ से वो इससे open हो जाता है आपके esophagus में, and through the glottis into the larynx. So let me erase this. The epiglottis is the covering, so that, yes, the epiglottis is the covering so that the food does not enter the windpipe, right, or the larynx. So the epiglottis is going to cover the windpipe, and the gullet is the opening through which the food enters inside the, yes, the esophagus. Exactly. Elastic cartilage plate called epiglottis covers the glottis. So you see, this is the epiglottis and this is going to be the glottis, right? The opening is called the glottis, and the opening is guarded by a flap. The opening is guarded by a flap so that the food should not enter inside. The food should not enter inside. That covering is called as epiglottis. The flap-like covering which covers it. See, this is the opening. This opening, let's call it the glottis. It's going to be covered by a flap. So when you're swallowing, the flap will cover it so that the food does not enter the windpipe. Food mixed with saliva in the buccal cavity. When you mix the food, you chew the food with teeth, you make it into a soft ball in the mouth. It is called as bolus. The bolus is very, very slightly acidic, right? Very slightly acidic. Is that clear? Let's move ahead. Correct? Chaliye. Now, so you see, this is what I was telling you. This is the nasal cavity. In the nasal cavity, my dear children, do you see three conchae? Yes, this is foldings of the nasal membrane, right? Now, what is the nose used for? The nose is used for smell. So this is where the nerves for swelling, yeah? The nerves for smelling are right here on the superior nasal conchae, right? I've done a webinar on sense organs where I discussed this in detail. So this is the nose. This is not part of the pharynx. The posterior part of the nose is nasopharynx. The posterior part of the mouth is oropharynx, and the posterior part of the larynx is laryngopharynx. Together, all three of them will form the pharynx where you chew the food, right? The pharynx is a part of the buccopharyngeal cavity. This is your buccopharyngeal cavity. If I have to re-explain the previous slide quickly, the posterior part of the buccopharyngeal cavity is where it starts. It goes down into the esophagus, right? There is also another tube which is present there. The tube which is present there is larynx. The opening of the esophagus is called the gullet. The opening of the larynx is called the glottis, which is guarded by a epiglottis. So when you're swallowing, the epiglottis will cover the larynx. Is that clear? So that you do not swallow anything into the windpipe. Now, let's move on to the next tube. So the buccopharyngeal cavity, yes, the buccopharyngeal cavity is going to lead into the esophagus. Esophagus. Esophagus is a long muscular tube which connects the mouth to a J-shaped hollow organ known as stomach. So the esophagus, my dear children, is narrow, muscular, thin tube. It's about 25 centimeters long. It pierces the diaphragm and enters the abdominal cavity. The diaphragm is the one which separates the thoracic cavity or the chest cavity from the abdominal cavity. The thoracic cavity is the one which contains the lungs. The thoracic cavity helps you to breathe, that is respiration. So the diaphragm is pierced by the esophagus. Absolutely. I have a little extra bit of information here for all of you. Can anybody tell me what is hiccups? Everybody knows what are hiccups? Absolutely. Yes, we've all had hiccups some or the other time in our life. And sometimes when they don't go after a couple of minutes, it can get very, very irritating. You're getting my point? Yes. Can anybody tell me why do they happen? Yes, yes, yes. They happen when the diaphragm gets irritated, right? So when the diaphragm gets irritated, the person feels hiccups. Simple. But I have another question which I want to ask you. My simple question to you is, why is the diaphragm irritated? क्यों डायफ्राम ऐसे कॉन्ट्रैक्ट करता है जिसकी वजह से हिकअप्स होते हैं? जब डायफ्राम कॉन्ट्रैक्ट करता है उसकी वजह से हिकअप्स होते हैं. When the diaphragm contracts, it is then that hiccups happen. So why does the diaphragm contract? The diaphragm contracts, my dear children, when the phrenic nerve is irritated. Phrenic nerve is a nerve जो diaphragm को innervate करती है, ऐसे diaphragm को nerves देती है. By chance, due to some salty food, due to some pressure differences, the phrenic nerve can get irritated. If the phrenic nerve gets irritated, the diaphragm contracts, and when the diaphragm contracts, the person gets hiccups. Exactly. So it pierces the diaphragm, it enters the abdominal cavity. There are no digestive glands which are present. So it might just ask, name an organ which has no digestive glands. It is nothing but the esophagus. What does it secrete? It secretes mucus. Why does it secrete mucus, my dear children? It secretes mucus because it needs to soften the food so that we are easily able to digest it. Right? Now, these are plexuses, right? Auerbach and Meissner's plexus. When I talk about the nervous system, I will discuss these plexuses in detail. What do these plexuses do? These are the plexuses which tell us whether the food is filling the tummy or not. Should we eat more food or not, right? So they tell you about the temperature of the food, the pressure of the food, the texture of the food. So these plexuses are usually absent in the upper 1/3 of esophagus. They also help us in secretion of enzymes and hormones from the digestive system. So as the food passes through the esophagus, you must have seen this. This is so simple. It dilates. Yes, it's going to push the food down. This is going to dilate to receive the food, contract, push the food down. So this is known as peristalsis. It is a series of wave-like contractions and relaxations meant for pushing the food, right? Voluntary muscles are present in the top 2/3 part of the esophagus, while involuntary muscles are found in the 1/3 part of the esophagus. So the lower part is absolutely involuntary. It's not under our control. So that is absolutely involuntary. The top part we can still kind of vomit and control. The length of the esophagus depends on the length of the neck. The longest esophagus is present in giraffe. Right? So giraffes have the world's longest esophagus, correct? Now this is your esophagus or your food pipe. Ahead you have the windpipe or the trachea. The trachea is made up of C-shaped cartilaginous rings. Extra information, what is the trachea made up of? The trachea is made up of C-shaped cartilaginous rings. You do not want the trachea to collapse. ऐसा नहीं होना चाहिए आप सांस ले रहे हो ट्रेकिया बंद हो जाए. So the trachea is made up of C-shaped cartilaginous rings. Absolutely. And esophagus क्या है बच्चों? Esophagus is the food pipe which helps in carrying the food from the mouth into the J-shaped hollow organ known as stomach. यहाँ पे ये क्या होगा? This will be your diaphragm. अगर आप 3D में देखेंगे, lungs इसके ऊपर ही रहेंगी, lungs इसके नीचे नहीं आएंगे. And you see the esophagus will pierce the diaphragm and enter inside the stomach. Absolutely. Right? This is your wave-like contraction motion. तो यहाँ पे food है. Now this will contract and this will relax. जब यहाँ पे food आ जाएगा, so this will contract and the next part will relax. Is that clear? The bolus is the food which is going. So you see there is contraction, relaxation, alternate. ये देखिए, wave-like motions, which are nothing but peristalsis, which lead the food into the stomach. Any doubts? I hope everything is getting clear side by side. Yes? चलिए, ठीक है. Now let's come to the stomach in detail. Stomach की मैं muscles detail में कराऊंगी. Stomach की anatomy, physiology, all of this we are going to do it in detail in the next 40-45 minutes in the lecture. Done? Come, let's move ahead. Come. Stomach situated on the left side of the abdominal cavity, right? Because the right side has liver. So left side पे क्या होता है stomach? Why is it on the left side? Because on the right side we have one of the major organs of the human body, which is known as the liver. The first largest organ of the human body is skin, right? Please write down all these extra bits of information. They are very important from MCQ point of view. So the largest organ of the human body is skin. The second largest organ of the human body is nothing but your liver. It is the main seat of detoxification. Those of you who are also following Vedantu on YouTube and probably are planning to study full time with us, please go through the YouTube lecture on liver. It is very, very important, and make your notes, right? Compare it to what you've studied on your own, or compare it to what you've studied over the last year and make your own notes. Liver is very, very important, right? You all should know that human physiology accounts for 40% of the paper of NEET. That means 40%, right? Questions will come from human physiology. It is very, very, very important. So make sure that your human physiology is absolute. Anything can come, right? It is that important. Chaliye. It is the widest part of the alimentary canal. See, I have included these facts because ऐसे facts आ सकते हैं. और यहाँ पे पता है क्या होगा? Widest part लिखा होगा और सबसे पहले क्या लिखा होगा? Large intestine. ABCD option होगा. आपको पता है large intestine थोड़ा wide होता है, इसलिए उसका नाम large intestine पड़ गया है. Yes, तो आप फटाफट you will tick mark on the large intestine and come, but that is not the answer. The widest part is this. See, it is even wider than the large intestine. It's a bag-like thick muscular structure. It is J-shaped. If you look at it, it could be like this. See, it's like this. So it's kind of J-shaped in empty condition. उसके बाद तो जब इसमें खाना आ जाएगा ये फूल जाएगा. Empty stomach के अंदर folds होते हैं. That means if this is the stomach, empty stomach, right, and you look at it from inside, it ये ऐसा तो दिखेगा, but there will be folds like this. J shape तो होगा. See, I'm trying to make the same shape, but this will be like this. These folds are known as gastric rugae. Can anybody tell me the function of gastric rugae? Yes, exactly. What is the function of gastric rugae? Exactly. They increase the surface area. So whenever the person will eat the food will enter inside. Is that clear? What do? They increase the surface area. Helps in mechanical churning. Helps in churning the food. See? Now, let me tell you. See, there will be a closure here. There will be a closure here. These closures are known as sphincters. What are they? Sphincters. It will be like a door. They are sphincters. What are sphincters? Sphincters are basically circular muscles. You see this? They're circular muscles. Are you able to see this? So it's going to close, right? This is known as the cardiac sphincter. I will come to it in detail. Give me 1 second, please. And this is known as pyloric sphincter. I will come to all of this in detail. So it's like a mixer jar. Have you seen a mixer grinder at home? When any of your parents is in the kitchen and they're trying to cook something, they sometimes use a mixer. So if you don't close the lid from the top and you switch on the mixer, then what is going to happen? The entire kitchen is going to get dirty because everything will flow out. But when you put the lid and you switch on the button, it just churns. So the churning action is very similar of the stomach. That is why, let me tell you simple facts so that you can connect to physiology. Very important. Sometimes when you come back from school or college and you're really tired and very, very hungry and mama gives you food and you immediately have food. Immediately after having food, you've not had anything from morning, you were really hungry, and immediately after having food, have you realized this? That immediately after having food, my dear children, the stomach starts to hurt because you did not chew the food properly. You did not make a bolus, and therefore the stomach has to churn more. The stomach churns. It's a mechanical digestion, right? There are no enzymes involved till now. The muscles of the stomach are the strongest. They are moving like this. Please see this. They're churning like a mixer. They're breaking it down. So mechanical churning. See what I've written. If they ever ask you in MCQ, what is the mechanical function of the stomach? The mechanical function of the stomach is churning. After that, but obviously it will release acids. It will release enzymes. That will be part of the chemical digestion of food. It also helps to store the food for some time. So it acts as a food reservoir. What are these? These are the two. See, if you want to churn the food and you're going to do like this, if it is not closed from the top, just listen to me for 1 second, please. If it is not closed from the top, don't you think the food will come out like vomiting? Yes. Yes. So therefore, it is very important that the top and bottom are closed. I gave you the mixer example for this. Only when the top and bottom are closed will you be able to churn properly. Let's look at each one of the part of the stomach in detail because it is very, very important from MCQ point of view. So the stomach is divided into 4 parts: cardiac, fundus, body, pylorus or antrum. Antrum is also known as pylorus. Question आ सकता है, antrum is known as, ऊपर के 4 ऑप्शंस एमसीक्यू में होंगे ABCD. It has 2 openings. So one is this and the other is this. This is one opening. This is another opening. Let's look at the stomach in a lot of detail. So this is the stomach, right? It's situated on the left side of the abdominal cavity. It's the widest part of the abdominal cavity. It has J-shaped structure. Let me show it to you. Yes, that's why I put this slide. And it has folds called rugae, which increase the surface area. It helps in mechanical churning, chemical digestion. It has cardiac, fundus, body, pylorus. I just explained because that slide had become dirty. That is why I see. Yes, so you can't take notes, it become dirty. So the same thing, I've explained it again for you. It has 2 orifices or opening, one on top, see this, and one below. Now you see the heart will be here, right, somewhere. So is this close to the heart, the top opening? Yes. Is this away from the heart, the bottom opening? Yes. So that is why this is called the cardiac sphincter, because it is on top, it is close to the heart. And this one is known as the pyloric sphincter. See this? So the bottom one is pyloric sphincter and the top one is either esophageal sphincter or the cardiac sphincter. You see the folds, you see the diagram carefully, you see the folds are called as rugae. So because these folds are of the stomach, we call them gastric rugae. So let me show it to you. This is how it looks. You see this, right? Now this, why it can't be on the right side, I told you, because what is this on the right side? I just told you, just look at this and you will remember it. This is nothing but the liver on the right side. What will this be? I'll be very happy with the one who can answer. What would this be? Diaphragm. Yes. And what is this which is piercing the diaphragm? This, it is nothing but the esophagus. Correct. And what is the blue colored structure which has been marked, which looks like a J? That's nothing but the stomach. Right? So if you look at it carefully, it kind of looks like a J-shaped organ. This will be the cardiac or the esophageal sphincter. Right? This will be your pyloric sphincter. What is this after the pyloric sphincter? This part is nothing but the intestine. The first part of the intestine looks like a C. See? It looks like a C. So the C-shaped part which meets the pyloric antrum, which is the first part of the intestine, is known as the duodenum. So there are 3 parts of the intestine: duodenum, jejunum and ileum. The first part is duodenum. Any doubts till now? Are you all able to understand everything till now? Perfect. चलिए आगे बढ़ते हैं. Yes, so now this diagram is one of the most important diagram, most important diagram, because stomach से जितने भी questions आएंगे वो सारे questions can be traced back to this particular diagram, right? जितने भी questions आएंगे, all the questions can be traced back to this particular diagram. Correct? Chaliye, let's do that in so much more detail. Correct, everybody? Are you listening to me? Yes? Chaliye. Okay? Chaliye, let's start. Now, you see this is the esophagus. So, esophagus enters the first part of the stomach. Now, please pay attention and look at everything that I'm making on the diagram. Please pay attention. Everybody, drop your papers and pens because this diagram is very important. So, I want everybody to pay attention. And at the end of it, you can click a snapshot of this diagram and keep it. So, drop your papers and pens and just understand, because this is really important. So the esophagus is coming, and the first part where the esophagus meets is nothing but the cardiac part of the stomach. Why is it the cardiac part? Because that is the part which is lying on top. right? You see the dome shaped structure. Stomach ऐसा नहीं है. क्या मैंने stomach ऐसा बनाया है? No. Stomach ऐसा है. See? So you see this dome here, everybody? Come on, can you appreciate that? Can you see that dome? That is called the fundus. Is that clear? So the first part is the cardiac part. The dome-shaped part is the fundus part. Any doubts in point number 1 and 2? Any doubts in? Yes, clear? Now when you draw a stomach, there is one curve here like a mango and another curve here, right? So this curve is known as lesser curvature, and the outside curve, because there is more curve, you see such a big curve, see? So this is known as the greater curvature. Any doubts? Okay, this entire part here is called the body. What is it called? It's called the body. Done. So let me revise it again. We have the esophagus, which comes into the cardiac part. We have the dome shaped structure known as fundus. We have the lesser curvature and the greater curvature. We have the folds. See the folds. It's such a nice diagram. You can see the folds inside. The folds are known as the gastric rugae. Right now we come to the muscles. What I told you was a function of the stomach. A very important, definitely secretion of acid, secretion of enzymes is a function, but a very important function of the stomach was churning. So that was mechanical. How will it churn? I also told you that when you come back home, you will have stomach pain if you eat the food, if you gobble the food quickly without chewing it, because the food has to be churned in the stomach. If there is no light, if there is no motor in the mixer jar, will you be able to mix anything? Obviously no. So it is very important to churn, and for churning you require muscles. The muscles are not under your control. Can you tell your stomach, yaar ek kaam kar, churning shuru kar de? No. Can you tell the stomach? No. So the muscles are smooth muscles. Outermost layer, can you see the fibers are long? Just look at the beautiful diagram. Can you see the fibers are long? Longitudinal layer. Can you see the fibers are circular like this? Circular layer. And can you see the fibers are teda, oblique layer? These are the three layers of the smooth muscle. This is the body. This is the gastric rugae. The closing here. Can you see this round thing in closing here? See? Yes, so here also it will be closed, here also it will be closed only when it is closed at both the ends. Only and only if it is closed at both the ends can it churn. So closing at both the ends, for it to churn, is known as sphincter. The sphincter on top is known as the cardiac sphincter, the sphincter below is known as pyloric sphincter. So is the curvature, the sphincter, the parts and the fibers of the muscle or the smooth muscle of the stomach, is it clear in detail? Yes, perfect. Chaliye, moving ahead, right? So let's do one karke all the parts, right? So you see the brown color diagram. This is the cardiac part, right? Enter karte esophagus aaya, which is the first part which it meets, the cardiac part. It's also called because it is very close to the heart. Is that clear? Yes. Broad at the upper part with cardiac sphincter, which prevents regurgitation of food. This is the most important point, right? Dekho beta, should it close here? Because if it does not close here, when you will churn it, right? When you will churn it, can the food go back? This, which is known as vomiting. Yes, this is what happens sometimes. Vomiting has one more name, which is known as regurgitation. So what does regurgitation means? Regurgitation means there is a backflow which is happening. Is that clear? Is that clear, everybody? There is a backflow which is happening, but we don't want that to happen. It has to be stopped. So there is a sphincter here. If it closes, the food does not go back. Right? Cardiac sphincter is functional. It lies in the opening between esophagus and stomach. Right? So you see, this is the esophagus. This is the stomach. In between, you have the cardiac sphincter. Any doubts in this? Very simple. Yes, fundus. Right? So this is the fundus. Have you seen people belch? Yes. Have you ever seen people belch? You know what is belching? You know, after food, when people take out those funny sounds. Right? Is that clear? After just having food, when people take out the sounds, it's called as belching. So whenever we swallow, whenever we are swallowing and we are swallowing quickly, we also swallow some amount of air. Is that clear? So whatever air we have swallowed, that goes and collects in the dome. Is that clear? That will go and collect in the dome or the fundus, and after some time it will be expelled out. When the air is expelled out, it is known as belching. Okay, commonly filled with air and gases. Body is this. Body is also referred to as a word known as corpus. If some of you have joined me in the first sessions of class 12, you would already know that we've been doing the word corpus. So main and middle dome shaped part of the stomach is known as corpus. This is the part where maximum rugae are there and mixing of the food takes place. Is that clear? Chaliye, let's move ahead. Pyloric part. This is the posterior most part, the below part, right? Distal, away. See, this is pylorus. Distal, away, a far part of the stomach, which is differentiated into three parts: antrum, canal, and sphincter. These are the three parts of the pylorus, right? What are the three parts of the pylorus? First is the antrum. Can you see the brown part? It's looking like a canal, yes. And finally, there will be the sphincter. Sphincter means it will be closed. Only when this sphincter will open, the food will pass from the stomach to the intestine. Otherwise, it will remain closed. So there are three parts of the pylorus. What are the three parts of the pylorus? Number one is a cavity like antrum. Number two, there is a canal. And number three, there is a sphincter. Pyloric canal opens into the duodenum. So what does it open into? This is what? First part, C-shaped organ. I told you in the first diagram. I will show you again. It is nothing but the sphincter. Pyloric sphincter guards the opening between stomach and duodenum. It permits the partially digested food to pass from the stomach after mechanical and chemical digestion into the, yes, duodenum. Both the sphincters act as valves. ये खाने को ऊपर नहीं जाने देता, ये खाने को आगे नहीं जाने देता. तो खाना कहाँ रहता है? The food only remains in the stomach because the cardiac sphincter doesn't let it come out. The pyloric sphincter doesn't let it go to the intestine. And then what happens in the stomach is churning. The stomach muscles move and they break down the food. Only when this is over will the sphincters open and pass the food ahead. Is that clear? Yes? Right, everybody? So, see. So this is the, now from the stomach, it's going to enter. Let me use a black pen here. So that part till here we've done this, and now it has to enter this part. So magnify. This is what we have to see now. Is that clear? Can you see this C-shaped part? See? You can really appreciate the C-shaped part. This C-shaped part is the first part of the intestine known as duodenum. So the stomach kind of opens into the, let me draw that with a green pen, right? Okay. So this was the stomach, the ending, the pyloric part of the stomach, right? And this was the, or you can draw it with a blue pen. This is the pyloric sphincter. Correct? Chaliye, let's move ahead. Correct? So this is what we are going to do now. You see the intestines look like this. This is what I want to show you. The intestines look like this because the intestines are covered by a covering known as peritoneum, which makes them extremely slimy. Yes, they're very slimy. They're wet to touch and they're loose, isn't it? Intestine is like, if you loosen it up, it's not like bound. It's not one organ. It's a coiled tube. Right? It's like this. So if we open it up, if you leave it, it will just spread out. So they're bound in the peritoneum. Where are they? They are bound in the peritoneum. Let's come to the small intestine. The small intestine is small because the diameter is less, right? Otherwise, it is largest, right? That means in terms of length. See, 6.25 meters, but it is narrow. So that means the large intestine diameter is more, the small intestine diameter is less, and that is how they have been named. Otherwise, the large intestine is lengthwise small, the small intestine is lengthwise more. Is that clear? Any doubts? Yes, perfect. So small intestine is largest, 6.25 meters, narrow and tubular part that lies in the abdomen, right? It extends from pylorus to ileocecal wall where it forms the large intestine. So this is what I wanted to show you. You see, this is the ileocecal wall, right? That is also what I wanted to show you. This is the ileocecal wall and this is where the C-shaped duodenum is going to be there, right? So this part, my dear children, let me write it with a green pen. This part is the pylorus, right? Can you see that please with the green pen as well? This part is the pylorus. So if you have to appreciate that, it starts from the pylorus here and it ends at the ileocecal valve. What is before the pylorus? You have the stomach before the pylorus. And what is after the ileocecal valve? You have the large intestine after the ileocecal valve. So from the pylorus to the ileocecal valve, you have the small intestine. It extends from the pylorus to the ileocecal wall where it forms the large intestine. It contains, now this is one part where I have mentioned a lot of extra information. Yes, a lot of extra information. So I want you all to pay a lot of attention for the next 10-12 minutes and write things down, right? Ab beta, intestine is also like this. Why are the folds there? The folds are just like gastric rugae. Yes, the folds are going to increase the surface area. So intestine के अंदर भी folds होंगे. ये fold surface area बढ़ाएंगे जिसकी वजह से हम ज़्यादा खाना absorb और digest कर पाएंगे. So they contain circular mucus के भी folds होंगे. Mucus will also be folded like this. The folds of the mucus are known as plicae circularis, right? They are also known as Kirking ने इनको discover किया था and they look like this. They look like these folds. So they're also known as valves of Kirking. आ सकता है valves of Kirking are found in stomach, intestine, gallbladder or eye, right? Something like this a question can come. So it is the small intestine, right? And to absorb the nutrition, so inside each one of them you have a villi. Villi is meant to absorb the nutrition. Duodenum के तीन parts हैं. पहला part which is C-shaped duodenum, then jejunum, then ileum. So these are the three parts of the small intestine: duodenum, jejunum, and ileum. Right? The first part which we are going to do it in detail, we can see it more clearly with the red pen. ये रहा stomach. So ये जो first part है जो कनेक्टेड होता है पाइलोरस से, फर्स्ट पार्ट क्या होता है? सी शेप पार्ट नोन एज डिओडेनम. व्हाट इज इट कॉल्ड? डिओडेनम. These are some extra information on the intestine, extra information on small intestine, general extra information before we do the duodenum, jejunum and ileum in detail. Done? Should I start with a small bit of extra information? Yes, right? So plicae circularis are found in the lower part of duodenum and jejunum. What are plicae circularis? Folds of the mucous membrane. So ये fold क्या करेंगे? What is this? These are folds of the membrane. ये folds क्या करते हैं? ये folds surface area बढ़ाते हैं. Increased surface area की वजह से क्या होता है? Increased absorption होता है. Let's come to villi. Villi containing connective. Now, when you want to, suppose this is the intestine, right? Now, or let's put it like this. ये intestine है आपका, right? Yes, C shape बना लिया हमने. ये तो इसको अगर मैं थोड़ा सा modify, magnify करके देखूंगी, it also has further folds, right? और अगर इसमें से एक को मैं मैग्नीफाई करके देखूंगी, इसके पास भी विलाई होते हैं. ये भी ऐसा होता है, इसके अंदर भी बहुत सारे और फोल्ड्स हैं. सो एक एक के अंदर ये क्या है? दे हैव अ विलाई. सो अगर मैं किसी एक को इनलार्ज करके देखूंगी, इट लुक्स लाइक दिस. और इसके अंदर ये क्या है? दिस इज द कैपिलरी एंड द ब्लड वेसल. सो ये क्या है? विलाई. और विलाई के अंदर क्या होता है? कैपिलरी प्लस लिम्फ वेसल. सो कैपिलरी और लिम्फ वेसल इन द विलाई क्या करता है? इट इज मेंट फॉर एब्जॉर्प्शन, राइट? सो आप देखो, फर्स्ट ओनली इट इज फोल्डेड. Then I have increased folding. कितनी folding होगी? Then I have further broken down into small folds. And then each one of them also has a villi. So this is going to increase the surface area to such a large extent, which is going to help me in absorption, right? So villi are finger-like projections. They are highly vascular. What do you understand by highly vascular? They have too much of blood supply. They come out into the wall, right? ऐसे villi लगे होंगे. Why do they come out into the wall? To absorb, to increase the surface area. Villi increase the surface area up to 10 times in ileum. and this is the one which makes the intestine very, very velvety because it is coming out like that. It's like this. राइट सेल्स लाइनिंग द विलाई. अब विलाई के पास भी ये विलाई के पास भी और छोटे सेल्स होते हैं, इवन स्मॉलर विलाई विच इज नोन एज माइक्रोविलाई और ब्रश बॉर्डर विच further increases the surface area. So I repeat, first of all, duodenum, jejunum, ileum are highly folded. Duodenum, jejunum, ileum के folds को हम कहते हैं plicae circularis. Plicae circularis में होते हैं villi. Villi के भी अंदर होता है microvilli. All of them together increase the surface area of the intestine greatly, which helps us to absorb nutrition. Right? Let's come to Pierce patches. What are Pierce patches? बच्चे देखो, अगर आप intestine देखोगे, if you see intestine like that, आपको थोड़ी थोड़ी देर बाद ऐसे छोटे छोटे पैच नजर आएंगे intestine में. Small patches. This you will only see when you see the intestine under the microscope. तो अगर आप intestine को microscope के नीचे रखेंगे, you will be able to see really small patches. These really small patches which you are able to see under the intestine are known as Pierce patches. These are patches which contain WBCs. They are present inside the mucosa or the submucosa of the ileum, right? ये B lymphocytes बनाते हैं. So many times we eat something. We went out and we ate something from a roadside shop. That something which we ate from the roadside shop had some bacteria in it or probably had some foreign body in it which could harm the body, but it has somehow reached the intestine, right? कहीं पे हमने खाना खाया, वो खाना इतना अच्छा नहीं था, उसके अंदर कोई बैक्टीरिया या कोई लार्वा या कोई सिस्ट हो सकती है एंड समहाउ वो इंटेस्टाइन में चला गया. सो द इंटेस्टाइन हैज टू हैव एन इम्यून सिस्टम जिसकी वजह से वो जो भी ऐसा कोई फॉरेन सब्सटेंस एंटर हो गया है उसको डाइजेस्ट कर सके. सो दैट पार्ट इज नोन एज बी लिम्फोसाइट्स. ये किसी भी फॉरेन सब्सटेंस को क्या कर देंगे? इट विल डिस्ट्रॉय द फॉरेन सब्सटेंस. डिड यू अंडरस्टैंड? एंड प्रोटेक्ट द इंटेस्टाइन फ्रॉम इन्फेक्शन. राइट? इंटेस्टाइन को इन्फेक्शन से बचाएंगे. मेजर साइट ऑफ डाइजेशन एंड एब्जॉर्प्शन ऑफ फूड क्या है? वट एवर आई हैव रिटन विद रेड इज वेरी वेरी इंपॉर्टेंट फ्रॉम एम्स पॉइंट ऑफ व्यू and NEET point of view. So small intestine is a major site for digestion and absorption of nutrients because यहाँ पे surface area बहुत ज्यादा होता है, villi बहुत ज्यादा होता है. अब ध्यान से देखो, see पहले ही इंटेस्टाइन को मैंने फोल्ड कर दिया था. ये फोल्ड्स इंटेस्टाइन में होते हैं, ड्यूडेनम में, जेजुनम में, इलियम में फोल्ड्स होते हैं. उसके बाद इसका म्यूकस मेम्ब्रेन भी फोल्ड हो जाता है और फोल्ड्स हो जाते हैं. तो इसका म्यूकस मेम्ब्रेन और ज्यादा जब फोल्ड हो जाएगा उनको हम क्या कहते हैं? प्लिके सर्कुलरिस. राइट? अब देखिए आप, कैन यू सी ये अंदर से, सी इट्स मेम्ब्रेन इज ऑल्सो फोल्डेड. ये इसका ये देखो म्यूकस मेम्ब्रेन है, दिस इज ऑल्सो फोल्डेड फर्दर. राइट? सर्कुलर. ये आपको दिख रहे हैं सर्कुलर फोल्ड्स और ये अंदर से और फोल्डेड है. इन फोल्ड्स को हमने क्या कहा है? यहाँ देखिए विलाय कहा है. सो अगर मैं एक विलाय को देखो, ये कितने ज्यादा फोल्ड्स है. लेट मी इरेज इट. सी इट्स नॉट स्मूथ. कैन यू सी इट इज स्मूथ? Is it how I've drawn it with a black pen? No, it is not at all smooth. See, it is like this. So आप इनमें से किसी एक को enlarge करके देखिए. See, when you enlarge it like this, when you've enlarged it like this, right? और यहाँ पे देखिए further, ये देखिए folds, ये देखिए. See, so this is known as a villi. Is that clear? And what is inside the villi? This, the yellow one which you see inside the villi, the big yellow one in the middle. You see the yellow one in the middle? That is the lymph vessel. Around it is the capillary. Obviously, this will be the artery part of the capillary, and this will be the vein part of the capillary in blue. So in the middle, you have a lacteal, which is nothing but the lymph capillary. Can you see that? The yellow part in the middle. Come on, everybody, appreciate this. This is very, very, very important from MCQ point of view. Yes? So you are able to see the yellow part in the middle surrounded by artery around it. The yellow part in the middle is the lymph vessel. The part which is around it is the blood capillary. They both together help us in absorption, right? So can you see this C-shaped duodenum here? Yes, another 5-8 minutes. Let's do a little bit more parts of duodenum, jejunum, ileum. I'm having a very good time teaching you. Are you also enjoying the class? Yes. Now see this C-shaped duodenum here. See, right after the stomach, you have the C-shaped duodenum. It is the shortest part. This is a direct MCQ. Again, what I've put in red and green is very, very important. And wider part, it is somewhat C-shaped. Right? Ab dekhiye. Let me show you a diagram. Yes, see. Look at this, look at this, look at this. You see the C-shaped part which I'm making with a blue pen? right? Now, do you see that the opening of the gallbladder and pancreas will happen here? See? Look at the arrow, please. So you see the opening will happen here. Can you all see this? Right, so duodenum may, can you see that the liver, the gallbladder and the pancreas are all opening inside the duodenum? Yes, I'm sure you can. So it has a ampulla of Vater known as hepatopancreatic ampulla formed by the union of the pancreatic duct and common bile duct. So can you see, everybody, I'm going to erase it here. Let's do this and show it to you before we end today's session, everybody, right? So do you see this, that the duct of the gallbladder and pancreas is meeting with the duct of, the duct of the gallbladder and the liver is meeting with the duct of the pancreas. This is one duct, it's of the liver and the gallbladder. This is duct number 2, which is meeting. So this part, let me draw that part with a red pen. This part is called the ampulla of Vater, which is the joining of both the ducts. देखो, it's very thick. ये मोटा हो जाता है यहाँ पे, और यहाँ पे एक सी शेप्ड स्फिंक्टर होगा, ऐसा सर्कुलर. जब ये ओपन होगा, when this will open, the juice will enter into the duodenum. जब ये क्लोज हो जाएगा, ओपन, तो जूस एंटर्स इनटू द duodenum. जब ये क्लोज हो जाएगा, तो जूसेस विल नॉट एंटर इनटू द duodenum. सो ब्लैक पार्ट जो मैंने बनाया है, जो जूसेस का आना जाना कंट्रोल करेगा, which is sphincter of OD. So the sphincter of OD, the ampulla of Vater is nothing but this. This is the ampulla of Vater, right? V लिख दिया मैंने, and this is the sphincter of OD. So sphincter of OD opens and closes the ampulla of Vater. Ampulla of Vater is the hepatopancreatic duct joint, which joins, दोनों duct जब मिलती हैं तो वो थोड़ी सी मोटी हो जाती है just before entry into the duodenum. That is called the ampulla of Vater. It is controlled by the sphincter of OD. Sphincter of OD देखिएगा कितना खाना एंटर करना है और कितना नहीं. See, now look at this, right? ये आ गई आपकी बाइल डक्ट. देखिए, सबसे पहले आपके लिवर की डक्ट आई, right? Let me use a red pen. ये मिल गई आपकी गॉल ब्लैडर के डक्ट से और बन गई बाइल डक्ट, और ये आ गई पैंक्रियास की डक्ट. तो यहाँ पे जाकर दोनों थोड़े से स्वेल हो जाएंगे, राइट? सो दिस इज कॉल्ड द एम्पुला ऑफ वैटर. और यहाँ पे क्या होगा, यहाँ पे ये स्फिंक्टर ऑफ ओडीज को कंट्रोल करेगा कि कितना एंटर करना चाहिए और कितना नहीं. सो दिस इज गॉल ब्लैडर, दिस इज लिवर, दिस इज पैंक्रियास, दिस इज द सी शेप डिओडेनम. सो एम्पुला ऑफ वैटर एंड the sphincter of OD. Is that clear? Cystic duct is the duct of the gallbladder. When it meets with the duct of the liver, we call it the common bile duct, which is known as CBD. CBD ही वो area है जहाँ पे maximum stones होते हैं. You must be aware of gallbladder stones, right? So gallbladder stones की जो सबसे common location है, it is nothing but the common bile duct. Is that clear? Yes, let's also do the jejunum and ileum. The red part which is being shown. Yes, देखो आपको दिखाई दे रहा है. Correct? ये है आपका, ये क्या था जो मैं ग्रीन पेन से मार्क कर रही हूँ, वो क्या था आपका duodenum. Correct? अब ये पिंक कलर का क्या है आपका jejunum, और ये येलो कलर का क्या है ileum. And उसके बाद this again, let me make that with a blue pen. Blue pen से जो marked है part, that is nothing but the large intestine. So C-shaped is duodenum, pink-shaped is jejunum, and yellow part is the ileum. Jejunum is thicker, it is more vascular, ताकि और ज़्यादा खाने का क्या हो पाए, absorption हो पाए. We are able to absorb even more food, and it's about 2.5 meters long. We come to ileum, which is very thin. Then jejunum, it is non-vascular. मतलब जितना absorption होना था हो गया. Jejunum, ileum में कोई भी absorption नहीं होगा. तो कहाँ हो गया absorption? Duodenum में और jejunum में. It is the longest part. इसका जो last part है, it is dilated, right? इसका last part थोड़ा सा dilate कर दिया जाता है. Dilate मतलब खुल जाता है, open हो जाता है. Yes, like a sac, it is known as saculus rotundus. Rotundus means round. So the end part of the ileum is in a round sac-like appearance, which is known as saculus rotundus. Both jejunum and ileum are highly coiled. बहुत ज़्यादा coiling है. तो अगर ये open हो गए, ये फैल जाएंगे. It will just immediately open up. Yes, so therefore जो मैंने आपको first diagram दिखाया था, they have to be bound together. इनको एक साथ bind करके रखना है, which is done by mesentery. Is that clear? Mesentery is peritoneum or nothing but a covering of the internal organs. Peritoneum and mesentery are the coverings of the internal organ, because jejunum and ileum, see, duodenum is C-shaped, but jejunum and ileum are highly coiled, so you need to bind them. Right, let's move on to the large intestine. Another 1 or 2 minutes of the large intestine, and from large intestine we can pick up in the next class. So large intestine is about 1.5 meters long, right? See, this part of the large intestine is going up, right? Let me draw that with a green pen. This part of the large intestine is going up. इसके अंदर यहाँ क्या था? Small intestine. So when this part goes up, look at the arrow. It is called the ascending colon. This part of the large intestine is going in this side, right? This side, see? So this part of the large intestine is known as transverse colon, and this part of the large intestine is going down, right? Again with green. So this is known as descending colon. It's going down. Now this part of the large intestine, again follow my blue pen please, looks like a S-shaped structure. So this is known as the sigmoid colon, right? Basically it is this till here. It is the sigmoid colon, and after that the part which stores and releases the food, stores the food temporarily and releases it, is nothing but the rectum. Right? So the ascending colon, this is basically, from here is the ascending colon. The part where the small intestine joins is known as the cecum. Cecum also has a pouch which is hanging from the cecum, which is known as vermiform appendix. So diameter जो है वो large intestine का vary करता है, कहीं पे diameter थोड़ा ज़्यादा, कहीं पे diameter थोड़ा कम, but it is basically divisible into 3 parts: the cecum, the colon and the rectum. राइट, सो ये पार्ट हो गया आपका सीकम ब्लैक पेन से, ये पार्ट हो गया आपका पूरा कोलॉन असेंडिंग, ट्रांसवर्स एंड डिसेंडिंग, और ये पार्ट हो गया रेक्टम. सो सीकम, कोलॉन एंड रेक्टम आर द 3 पार्ट्स ऑफ द लार्ज इंटेस्टाइन. इज दैट क्लियर? राइट, सो द लार्ज इंटेस्टाइन, द सीकम, द कोलॉन and the rectum. So let me mark it for you. The cecum, the colon and the rectum. These are 3 parts of the large intestine, right? So in the next class, look at this. This is all that we are going to do. The outpocketing, the vermiform appendix, peritonitis, inflammation. किसमें cecum ज़्यादा होता है, कम होता है, colon पे मैं in detail आऊँगी. Yes? Is that clear? See the diagrams. I'll explain all of this in detail, and we will continue this over the, see, ascending, transverse, descending. देखिए, this is such a nice diagram. देखिए cecum. Please see the cecum, yes, and see the ascending colon, the transverse colon, because the descending colon, the S-shaped sigmoid notch, yes, and the last part is the rectum, which opens on the outside through the anus. Correct, everybody? Ascending, transverse, descending, sigmoid notch. So all of this, we are going to, so many more slides are there, see. So many, yes, सारे के सारे glands, all the glands, saliva किसका बना है, what are the glands, what are the parts, all of this we are going to do it in much more detail. This part is very important, right? अब मैंने इस पे tables बनाएंगे. Yes, parietal cells, all these tables I'm going to do with you, right, everybody? Right, let me show you the tables. So each one of the glands, I'm going to do them with you in detail. This I've left blank to show you, right? So what I will do is all of this in detail in the next class. Parietal cells क्या करते हैं, mucous cells क्या करते हैं, gastric glands क्या करते हैं, chief cells क्या करते हैं, who secretes HCl, who secretes pepsin. I'm sure some of you already know this, but this is just to show you that this is how teaching is done at Vedantu. It's extremely entertaining, it's very live, it's very, interactive, and this is how the slides are uploaded, and every single thing is done through slides, especially in my classes. And physiology is so raised to power infinity important, right? 40% of the questions come from physiology. So my dear children, don't go anywhere. I will see you really soon. I hope you understood the basic structure of the internal structure, starting from the mouth to the intestine. And in the next class, this was anatomy of the internal parts of the digestive system. In the next class, we will start with physiology, where I will teach you the glands in detail, right? Also, don't forget to miss the webinar that I've already telecast on liver, gallbladder and pancreas. There is a webinar that I've already taken on it. So with this, we come to the end of part 1, although we've not done it in detail. Thank you so much for listening to me. I hope you become an integral part of Vedantu. I hope you liked everything that we taught you today. On behalf of Vedantu, this is Dr. Vani signing off for today. See you soon. Bye, guys.